Episode 144 of the HHH Racing Podcast is sponsored by the Adelphi Racing Club. Adelphi is a racing club of like-minded people who enjoy horse racing and the camaraderie of being a part of something bigger than themselves. It's a true community. Adelphi's founding partners have all owned horses in other partnerships and syndicates, as well as their own. The overarching goal with Adelphi is to blend the benefits of solo ownership without the administrative hassle, but with the thrill of the partnership experience. Adelphi offers an interactive ownership experience with real-time access to other partners, trainers, bloodstock advisors, and other members of the team. Enjoy tonight's show and join the Adelphi Racing Club. And now, let's start episode 144 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Good evening. This is your host, Howard Kravitz, and welcome to episode 144 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Thanks for joining us tonight. We've got a fantastic show covering the All Stakes Late Pick 5 on Saturday at Churchill Downs. I have a few very important announcements and things to mention. First of all, I sent out a survey to a lot of people, and I appreciate your response. We're going to make some minor changes here on the show. I hope you enjoy them. First of all, I don't know if you can see, I've got some merch. The merch is out. HHH Racing Podcast. There you go. So we're going to start some merch going. We're going to make sure that the show, tries to go at most an hour and 15 minutes. I fully realize, especially the next 2 weeks, we've got NBA basketball playoffs and NHL playoffs. But listen, all you got to do, if you want to watch that, go ahead and put the TV on. You can certainly watch the shows, but turn the volume off on the TV and have the HHH Racing Podcast on your iPad or your phone or whatever and take notes. So you could do both things, no problem. But we are going to try to shorten the show just a little bit. And also with our guest speakers, we'll shorten a little bit the time that we talk with them and jump right into the handicapping. Just want to mention that. Now, next week, is everyone ready? Because next week, this podcast is going to be fire, as the kids like to say. Let me show you what's happening next week for Belmont Week. I really hope you are going to enjoy what you're about to see here. Next week on this show, I would challenge anyone, any podcast in the country, whether it be on radio, whether it be on YouTube, whatever, to match this lineup for Belmont Stakes next week. All times 8 o'clock. First of all, this Monday, we're going to have, that's right, Hall of Fame jockey Lafitte Pinkai Jr. on the show with Philip Gleaves, former trainer. And we're just going to go down memory lane and talk about the Belmont Stakes winning streak that trainer Woody Stevens had in the early 80s. Unbelievable. We are so honored to have both these gentlemen on the show next Monday. Then, next Wednesday, we're going to have David Aragona, the morning line maker for NYRA. He's going to take us through in detail handicapping and previewing the fantastic card on Friday. That's a week from tomorrow as we're filming this now. A week from tomorrow, the day before the Belmont, 5 graded stake races and the late pick 5. And then the plan as of right now, and it's a bit tentative, I just want to let everyone know, a bit tentative. I am flying into New York a week from tonight. I will be live in New York at the Belmont Stakes for my first Triple Crown race ever. I'm really excited for that. But Thursday night from my hotel room in New York, we're going to have the Big A. Anthony Stabile, that is the plan. Simulcast host for NYRA to go through Belmont Stakes Day. Of course, both my co-hosts will be there for both days. Are you ready for this, folks? 9 graded stake races. Are you kidding me? 8 grade 1s. I mean, it's basically a Breeders' Cup in the summer. And of course, we're going to talk about the late pick 5 and the Belmont Stakes. I'm going to do the best I can to bring all of you the best information, the best guests possible. And not only that, after Belmont Stakes, that next week is Ascot week, Royal Ascot meeting. And guess who's going to be back for that? That's right. Our buddy Davey Lane from the UK will be there, and hopefully some other special guests, including possibly, are you ready for this? Nick Luck will be here, hopefully, cross our fingers, on the HHH Racing Podcast. I try to bring you the best guests possible. Please tell your friends about the show and spread the word, because I believe that we do an excellent job bringing you the great information that we do. All right, let's get on to my co-host very quickly, and then we'll bring out our guest, and then we'll get pretty much right into the handicapping. Let's bring them on right now. They're waiting patiently from the East Coast, Pete Visco and Paul Halloran. Guys, how we doing tonight?
What's up, gentlemen?
Paul, you got your microphone off. It's a tradition now, Paul, that he's muted before the show. There you go, Paul.
You never know what's going on around here, Howard. So,
hey, Howard. Hey, Howard. Somebody wants to give a wave real quick before.
Oh yeah, let's see. Hey, there he is. We got to introduce him, Pete. Who's this?
Hold on. This is Jackson, my son. He was he got a shout out last week because I missed the podcast because he was in a show, so he got a shout out. So I said you could pop on and show your face, and the only thing is, since I'm on the headphones, he can't talk in. I'd have to unplug.
Jackson can hear me though, right? Jackson, you can hear me, buddy?
Hold on. Let me see. Hold on.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jackson, you can hear me, right?
Yep.
So Jackson, first of all, welcome to the show, buddy. Great to see you. How you doing? I'm Howard. I went onto your YouTube channel. You are amazing.
Thank you.
You're going to be like a future superstar. Movies. You like Spider-Man, right, buddy?
Yeah.
Okay, you were awesome. Anytime you want, you ask Dad, Mom, whatever. Anytime you want, you can come on the show and say hello, and maybe give us some horses to bet on, because I hear you're real good at picking horses too.
Hey, what was it? Double Fireball on my 50th birthday, Paul. I don't know if you remember this. On my 50th birthday, we had a party at Laurel Park, and he was giving out horses, and he picked it was like a 20-1 shot that I hit. My dad was mad because he's like, that's the only horse he didn't tell me. The only winner we had of the day, and it came up the rail beautiful. And I sent a picture on Twitter with him sitting at the window.
You saw it.
It was
anyway,
awesome.
Jackson, it's great to have you. You're welcome on any time. We'll see you soon, okay, buddy? Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
See you, kiddo.
Pete and Paul, as I said on Twitter, I think I emailed you guys. Children and pets, very welcome on the show anytime. maybe our guest who's waiting patiently can bring on an animal at some point. I don't know what he's got. He's got some kids too. Maybe they can make some guest appearance sometime. Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and bring on our guest. We have fantastic. Real quick, let's see who we've got here. Jim Pillars. Jim, I will give updates on my Adelphi horses soon. I'm actually going to see one of them in New York. Michael Bryan is here. Michael, good evening. Let's see, K2. Wow, the future of the sport. Thanks, K2. Appreciate it. There, of course. Jackson is the future for sure. And, of course, Penn State Scott. How you doing, Scott? All right, we got all the important people here, plus a lot of other people. Let's bring on our guest, guys. We're going to talk about the late pick 5, Churchill Downs on Saturday. It's all stakes. It's basically a preview for their Stephen Foster Day, which is in a month from now. So there's some great stakes, and I have a guest who's been on before, ladies and gentlemen. I love the work he does. He's one of the hardest working people in the business. You've seen him on if you watch Fairgrounds, he was the analyst for Fairgrounds and their Simulcast feed, does a lot of other great things for Twin Spires. Let's bring him on from the great city of Kansas City, Kevin Kilroy. Kevin, how you doing tonight?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I'm doing fantastic. Love seeing Pete and Paul. Haven't been on the show with you two before, so good to meet you guys.
Hey Kevin,
looking forward to ironing out a little bit of a winning card here for Saturday.
So Kevin, real quick for people, like I said, we have a lot of new people that watch the show. We've exploded. Can you tell very briefly, people who are not familiar with you, what you did at Fairgrounds and what you're currently doing right now?
Yeah, so I'm kind of new to the horse racing world. I got my first job in the industry just with Fairgrounds this past fall, doing publicity specialist, but yeah, on-air analysis with Joe Christophic and doing barn notes and all sorts of different stuff around Fairgrounds, which is quite the place. If you haven't gone down, it's the place to go for sure. I mean, all our racetracks are sacred and beautiful places, but the community there is fantastic. So definitely come on down and say hi to me when you do. And currently, I'm back in Kansas City. My trainer turned me out for a little bit, so I'm away from the track and doing some writing for Twin Spires Edge, doing some weekly columns about betting strategy and covering Evangeline Downs, pick fives, writing for Yard Barker, which is a neat sort of in general sports website you should check out, that they're building up the horse racing portion of everything and doing some writing for Horse Racing Nation as well.
Man. And you've had some contest success as well. I want to tell people real quickly about that.
Yeah, I mean, I like that you invited me for the show that includes a couple fours in there. I've got my legend began with picking all fours to get that NHC seat back in 2019. That was bad news there, but the next year I was able to get in and get 21st place in NHC, so that's great. And struck out today in that Horse Players Happy Hour. Just got one winner there, so didn't get the seat there. But that's a great thing.
Well, those mythical $2 pick and praise, you got to take some shots. I was busy with school. Actually, I put it on Twitter. Today was my last day for the school. You just finished 25 years of high school teaching. So thank you guys. Appreciate that. I know my parents, God rest their souls, one of them was a teacher. My mom, they'd both be very proud of me, but especially my mother. So quarter century, I don't know how I did it. I've got about 8 more to go if I can last that long. Well, for full pension, we'll see. Maybe I can win the BCBC and retire early. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway.
You'll like this. I just found this. Somebody downstairs pulled this out of the classroom that we used to teach at. And so I turned the right way. Got my old chalkboard that I used to teach with.
Wait, yeah. What's that? What's a chalkboard?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I couldn't pass it up. I missed the classroom, so got that in my office here.
I still have colleagues that love the sound of not the creaky sound, just the general sound of chalk against a chalkboard. I know I have some veteran teachers that still miss that. So now we're on iPads, right? Everything's digital. Kevin, we're going to jump into the pick five. Everyone, guys, we're jumping to the pick five. And as I mentioned, Kevin, before I brought you on, this is basically a preview for Stephen Foster Day, correct? Which is in early July. Kevin, is that correct?
I hadn't thought about that. That makes sense as I'm thinking through some of those entries and some of these horses in here. Why I'm wondering they're sort of not in the graded stakes. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
to me,
I think that's how they're touting. I think some of these horses are going to come back. They're not going to be top choices in some of these races. Although there is one horse running in one of the races that is making his first start of the year. That could be an absolute monster. I'm sure some of you guys know what I'm talking about. But I have a very interesting, strong opinion on that horse. We'll talk about later.
Guys, let's jump there.
Yeah, guys, let me go take the banner off the screen here. We're going to jump in again. We are absolutely going to end at the very latest 9:15. I'm going to stick to that. We might end at about 9 p.m. I know there's the NBA finals. The broadcast comes on at 8, but the game doesn't start till like 8:15.
Who's in the finals? Howard, who's in the finals?
Some team. They were green, I think. I don't know. The Leprechauns, is that their name? I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, the Celts, I know. Listen, if Tom Espinosa is watching, you better be careful because we might get a little debate with his Warriors.
Oh, I'm coming for him. Where is he? He better lock his doors.
I don't know if Tom might be working. Actually, I think he's working tonight near the stadium. But anyway, let's jump in, guys. I'm going to go ahead and show this first race here. We'll jump right into the sequence. Again, this is the pick 5 at Churchill on Saturday. Those of you that are part of the podcast pool, the late pick 5 will be the main play for the gold team for the podcast pool. Again, I know that many of you watching the show know what I'm referring to. Some of you don't. I'm also not going to bore you with all the promotions that we have on the show, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that below the video player, if you click the show more button, you can find all about our I have 3 promotions right now. Highly recommend you go below the video player and check out the promotions by clicking the show more button. Guys, you're also going to see, as you know, you're all veterans of the show. Of course, my co-hosts are. We're going to see banners on the bottom of the screen for our picks, and I'm about to show the scroll right now. This is the first time they are seeing our picks, and we're going to go ahead, and Kevin, you're going to be first with our order, and then we'll go Paul, Pete, and then myself, etc. The first race here, as you can see, I'm going to go full screen. First race 7. It's the Shawnee Stakes. This is it starts at approximately 3:50 Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. It's for older fillies and mares. It's a short field of 6. There's a huge morning on favorite here in Pauline's Pearl for Saez and Asmussen. 3 to 5 morning line. Kevin, that's who you're going with. Why don't you talk about this race just for a bit?
Yeah, I mean this race, we could see it with all our picks. We're all on the same 3 horses. It's one of those races that scares me a little bit from diving into the pick 5 at first blink, but it's also one that we can just get super skinny with in single. So I mean, Pauline's Pearl just seems like the standout in here, but this field does seem like there's some fillies in here that could take a step forward and could maybe surprise. But I feel like the setup's really good here. I think there's some pace that Pauline's Pearl is going to be able to run into. I feel like Saez up for this mount will make sense in terms of keeping her involved. And that last win was impressive over She Dares the Devil, Avis Grace, and others. I think the form is there. I think it's just hard to deny Pauline's Pearl on top here.
Yeah, I mean, she's in great form. 4-year-old she's very steady. I wouldn't say she's really improving, but she's very steady. You have Army Wife in second. We all have this horse. Actually, I'm just looking. All of us have this horse in second. Kevin, how big a chance do you think this horse has to upset the favorite off the layoff here?
Yeah, I kept on trying to convince myself to just use Army Wife and try to squeeze some value out of here. Really last time broke well, and we can see that, running up close to the pace there, maybe not her preferred running style. So maybe that sort of cost her a little bit. Just looking at the trip notes I have, fell back a little bit, had a lane squeeze by an outside horse beating to her spot coming out of the turn. Stopped trying as the winner pulled away by open links. So possibly Rosario just said, hey, let's just save it for the next one. We've seen some big efforts from Army Wife before. Michael Makers has done a good job with this 4-year-old. I think it's a little bit much to ask, but definitely a trainer who knows how to get a horse ready in the mornings, and Gaffleone up is always a good sign for sure.
Yeah, I think she's actually a bit underrated. I mean, she had a real nice year last year. She won $534,000 last year. She's a nice horse. Paul, let's go to you here. We can talk about this. I'll tell you what. Why don't we wait for me to talk about the 6, because I have a crazy, pun intended, opinion in this race. Paul, did you want to add anything to what Kevin said about the 2 top choices here for you and for all of us, most of it?
Yeah, not really. You always, as Kevin said, you're always looking for a way to beat the favorite. But, the one looks like a real outsider. I tried to pick the 2 because I do think there's going to be, even for a short field, and I think Kevin referenced it, I do think there's going to be a pretty good pace in this race. I tried to tell myself to pick the 2, and then, I'm looking at Pauline's Pearl drubbing her the last 2 races.
Yeah.
Ava's Grace, I don't think that the race flow and the distance worked for her in this race. So, and Army Wife, as you said, should be right there. I don't think she's going to be right on the pace this time, but I'm just looking at the trip that Pauline's Pearl should get, which is maybe sitting like 3rd off the pace and getting first run. And I just think she's going to be hard to beat. So I stopped trying to beat the favorite, and I took her.
Paul, I'm glad you mentioned the pace, because I think there's definitely pace. Temper Time has to go. I don't know what Santana's going to do. I don't know the plan, but she's got early speed and the rail. You think she's going to go. Ava's Grace has to go, at least to have the best shot. Army Wife off the layoff, we don't know, but is not slow, but she's fresh. Pete, did you want to add anything before I talk about the 6?
No, I sort of mirror everything Kevin and Paul said. I mean, the only thing with Ava's Grace, just because she's 7-2, and Paul touched on her a bit, the only reason I didn't sort of pick her, I don't like her that much, but also it just feels like Pauline's Pearl is better. So no point in having the top 2 choices when you think one is just better. So you stick with the one over the other. Yeah.
So guys, I'm gonna let me put all of us on screen. I'm gonna flat out admit on this show, I have some little strange opinions. I'm going against the grain tonight, and people that watch this show know I am not afraid to go with chalk. I have no problem with playing chalk, but I have some opinions that I think are interesting, and I just want to push back on the knucklehead on Twitter who told me that Ocean Road couldn't win the last race at Santa Anita on Monday because she was too slow, and then she blew by the field at 5-1 and knocked a lot of people out of the pick six. Not me and not my podcast pool players, but I think we all try to find horses that are a bit out of the box. I think Crazy Beautiful is interesting, guys, and I won't talk very long, but let me just say a few things about this horse, and I'll go full screen. First of all, I agree with Paul. I think there's a decent amount of pace in this race. I don't know if it's going to develop, but I think there's pace. When you look at Crazy Beautiful, is she a little slower? Yes. But she does have some numbers, races that are good enough. I mean, how much slower is she really? And there's two angles I like about this horse a lot. Number one is I think she is best off the lead, and I think she's going to get pace to close into. And number two, take a look at her Churchill record. She's had 3 times she's raced at Churchill, and you see 2 of them on the screen. One of her best Beyer figs was at Churchill, actually up close to a fast pace last October. The other race before that was the Kentucky Oaks, where she was wide and had bothered and had absolutely no shot at all. And you're wondering, where's the third race, right? Well, if you go down, it's not on these PPs, but if you go down and look at her other start at Churchill, it was her 3rd start ever in the Pocahontas, and she ran a very good second. So I think she likes this track. So my angle here is I'm trying to go with a fuzzy. I think there's some pace. I don't think she's that far off. And I'm not going to show the Pauline's Pearl replay, guys, but she got an absolutely perfect trip last time. Now, I know what some people are going to say, Howard, she's going to get another perfect trip. She might, but I don't think she can run any better than she did last time. And I'm expecting a bit of a regression, not for any particular reason other than she ran big last time with a perfect trip. And if she runs like a 92, 93, how far is Crazy Beautiful really off that at her best? I don't know, guys. Maybe Crazy Beautiful is not good enough. I'm going 6-4-5. I think Army Wife is interesting. I will readily admit that Pauline's Pearl is completely the horse to beat, and I might look like a fool on Saturday. I'm using all 3. I don't know. Kevin, I'll let you have the final say. Is that a ridiculous thought that Crazy Beautiful can maybe upset this field?
No, I love it. When I saw that she's 5 for 9 at this distance, it always appeals to me, right? I think that especially when you're trying to find a horse that really fits and runs their best race at this distance, 5 out of that 7 wins there. The thing that gives me the pause, though, is with the 4-year-old season, just really seeing a regression with the speed figures. So I'm also seeing some better races come with the right setup, or on a different surface, whether it's a pace setup or whatever it might be. So those are my pauses that kept me from trying to take a swing. But I see what you're saying. I try to work it out too.
I didn't see these works. These works again. Times are times, Kevin. These works are very good. I just have a feeling that Churchill's her best surface, and maybe she's going to fire. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's go on the next. Yeah, for sure. Let's go on the next race, guys, and we're gonna have Paul's gonna talk here first into the next race. Let me go ahead and switch some buttons here. Again, I believe all these stakes are 200,000. I have to look at the purse. I think every one of them is 200,000. Guys, I gotta say that I had a little bit of a tough time going through this race right from the start. When I saw the name of this race, which is called the Arlington Stakes. Yeah. I'm not gonna say anything more. I just got a little bit of a queasy feeling in my stomach.
It feels wrong, doesn't it? It feels wrong.
Yeah, it really does, Kevin. It's a grade 3. This is for older males. They're going a mile 16th on the turf. It's another short field. Now there are some bigger fields later, in case you viewers and listeners are starting to already be disappointed because you don't like smaller fields. The bigger fields are coming. It's a field of 6. The morning line favorite is the number 5 Field Pass for Maker and Santana. And we can see our picks, Paul. That's who you're going with here.
Yeah, it's a eating chalk 2 races in a row. And I'd say something about the name of the race, Howard. Why don't they call it the We Are a Disgrace race? Oh, sorry.
Wow. That's okay. I'll mute that part. Wait, is Kevin's a CDI? Is Kevin still on the air? Okay. All right, go on.
The We Close Racetracks stake. Anyway.
We're edgy. Kevin, we've become edgy on this show. We're not faithful punches.
Yeah. I've been muted before. I can mute myself. Again, how it's short field. The one horse looks like he's got some ability, but, it's a 15-month layoff, although Brian Lynch is pretty good off the layoff. I kind of like the 4 in the race because I think his running style is going to fit, but I just think he's going to be over bet. I think the 5 is in pretty good form. That last race last time, I know it wasn't a killer field. It was at Laurel and in Pete's neighborhood, and he doesn't look that good on paper. I watched it earlier tonight. I think it was a little better than it looks. Obviously, he was way over his head in the Pegasus with Colonel Liam, but yeah, I think Maker, turf, distance fits. I think the race flow fits. I think he's going to be right off it, and I'm going to need chalk 2 for 2. Although I will have other horses on my ticket, but I do have the favorite here. Sadly,
Yeah, I think he's very. The Laurel turf can be. I mean, the grass is fine. There's nothing wrong with the course, but some of them fire. Sometimes they don't. I think that was this horse's first run over. Maybe it was the layoff. Maybe he didn't like it. Whatever. You're going with the 6 Grays Fable, who, to me, Paul, looks like he has one way to go if he's going to win. He is also. I don't mean to steal your thunder because I'm sure you'd mention it as an expert handicapper, but this is also another Brian Lynch horse. You figure this one's going to go and the one's going to close, right, Paul?
yeah, and especially with this one, even in a short field, this one outside, far outside, I would think, you think he's going to go, but although Leparoux did go wire to wire on a turf race today, and I just hit the late pick 3 at Churchill Downs. I take back everything I said.
Nice. It just ended, right? Congratulations.
Get for you.
I think they showed the 9 and 6. I hope it was
9
live.
to 1 to end it. Nice.
Those are the 2 horses I had alive. Anyway, Howard, to you, Leparoux did go wire to wire in a turf race today, but whenever I hear has to go and Leparoux, and I get a little queasy to use your term, Howard. But yeah. I do think with Brian Lynch, that you brought up a good point, Howard. With Brian being the trainer of both of them, it certainly looks like the one has one way to go, and that's from way behind, especially coming off the layoff, right? So, but I think the 5 could just follow the 6 right around.
Okay. Kevin, I'm going to have you go second because Pete and I have a similar idea in this race. You are, Kevin, going with the 3, who is 12 to 1 morning line. I'm not sure we're going to get that. Like the King for Mark Cassidy, second start off the layoff. This is an interesting horse for Saez.
Yeah, 12 to 1. I mean, definitely trying to find prices after having 2 singles that seem to be odds on. Like the King, a little bit of a tough trip last time, was in pretty good position coming around the turn and just was blocked by some horses and was not able to get around him and get that full run.
Let's take a look. I'll see if I can get to the spot. I wasn't prepared, but maybe you can.
No, if you just get into that second turn, right? Like the King is the one.
Yeah, go ahead if you want to walk through the replay here.
Yeah, on the rail here, you can see tipping out. And he's looking for room, and you can see almost has it here and almost gets beat to the spot and can't quite, has that horse come out, can't quite get into that full run there that I would like to see. We can see it get a little bit tighter there. Yeah. And possibly we can still see some interest here at the end, passing some horses, which I like to see. I think without such a sort of claustrophobic situation there at the end, we could see something better. We've got a shorter field. It shouldn't be so tight. I like the fact that we've seen improvement from this horse. I like that fact that Pratt got on last time and gave it the best shot. It was a weaker field there, but second off the layoff, Saez gets up here. I think we might be a little bit more involved like we've seen in the past after a little bit of a slow start there. It did set up for the closers in terms of pace, which was the trip that Like the King was getting. But I do feel like we might be able to have a situation here where we can get a better setup and definitely get a price. But to be honest with you, I mean, Field Pass was my pick when I went through this before I saw the morning lines, and I just didn't know, where we were going to be at, and seeing the favorite there is like, I got to get a little bit more creative here if I want to play this pick 5. So I will use Field Pass for sure. Definitely want to use Gray's Fable. What do y'all think about the jockey game that's going on here that we have? Saez comes off of Gray's Fable, off of given that perfect run to that Brian Lynch horse last time, or I guess it was Roger Atfield last time. Brian Lynch is now listed as trainer, and getting on Like the King, and we have Leparoux, who was on admission office and getting on Field Pass, all this sort of stuff going on. You guys pay much attention to that?
Go ahead, Paul or Pete.
I pay too much attention to it, Kevin, to be very honest with you.
Yeah.
Although I like it when it's multiple moves in the same race, I'm more inclined to just say, okay, forget about it. But I would say this about Like the King, Kevin. They finally got him doing what he probably should have been doing all along. You look at this horse's running lines, and is this the classic case of people getting Derby fever with a 3-year-old when they had no right to? We understand. Everyone wants to be in the Derby,
Yeah.
but this horse. I know an 80-1 shot won this year. I get it, but this horse was probably an underlay at 50-1 last year. Coming off the no respect to the Jeff Ruby stakes. But I do think, Kevin, that this is what the horse should be doing, right? Running about this distance on turf. So I will be using him upon your recommendation.
Yeah, seems like it could be a good shot here.
Kevin, by the way, I know you don't see him in my top 3, but I do have this horse as a B as in boy. I think he's fascinating. I do have him. I'm not. You made a very good point of replay. I'm not sure he actually had the acceleration to get through the hole. That's my only. If I didn't nitpick the replay, it's like he was that good. He would have been quicker through the hole. Maybe he's more of a grindy type. But I think he's interesting. Pete, talk about interesting. Pete, let me just say this right out front. I love your selection in this race. Your top choice and my top choice could very well be a win bet play in the podcast pool. I love this horse. I don't want to steal your thunder. What is it you like about Floriform?
No, I'm sure we're thinking about some of the same stuff. The one thing I did like is sort of, I just wrote in my note upside, where I thought this one, we don't know yet what this one is. So I think this one has a good deal of upside potentially. So like 2 back when you watch, and that was off a super long layoff. I mean, you're talking April to February, whatever that 10 months, whatever that comes out to be. And was actually making ground on Get Smoking off a layoff like that. And Cheryl Spite was just a monster in that race and sort of just buried that field. So I don't even really consider him in that, but just sort of was actually gaining on Get Smoking, who had a little bit of a better trip. And then
I sort of like the last race even more.
Oh, I did. No, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, the last one. And there were 2 next out winners that came out. So it was a decent field for an allowance. One, I think, came back with a 93 buyer, which sort of fits in this field. So, and this horse can obviously run around a 94 or some. So, I think this horse has more to them. And I love when a horse comes back from like 3 to 4, especially, and pops a buyer top. And this one popped a 94, which was a nice buyer top.
Silks here. This was a slow pace, and it was a decent field. And I know we got a good trip, but I really liked his acceleration a lot, Pete.
I loved it.
Running right here, I mean, he's still got a few lengths to make up, and he went right by these horses very professionally. I think his upside is huge.
Yeah, what about this end here, how he comes over on everybody? What do you think about this?
Go ahead, Pete.
No. Go ahead. I'm just agreeing with you. I just love the way he ran by them pretty easily.
I don't know, Kevin. This is pure speculation on my point, and it's a valid point. I'm not sure how many times in his career he's really been in front. So I think once he got in front, he's like, oh wait, am I supposed to finish the job? And he came over a little bit. I got to say, I'm not that concerned. To me,
I was thinking Rosario was just being dirty and just brought him over.
It didn't seem
against the horse because of that, but I just thought that was a fun little part of the race there.
Yeah, it's 7. Kevin, it seemed like that was more jockey intent as opposed to greenness, in my opinion. Because once he went left-handed, he sort of straightened out a little bit. So it's a valid point, but in a way, I almost think that's a good thing. It just shows and the horse still won. So I totally agree with everything Pete said. This is, I don't know if we're getting 4-1, Pete. But if we're getting 4-1 in this horse, a win bet is coming for the podcast pool. I love this horse. He's got to work out a trip. There's just horses in here that don't have the upside like this 2 has. And I like this horse. I don't really have too much to add. He's got to handle this Churchill Downs turf. Kevin, I'll just let you finish out the conversation of this race. This Churchill Downs, they spent $10 million on this new turf course. I know the spring was crappy in Kentucky as it was in the Midwest. They got a lot of rain. The inside of this turf course, even when it's been drying out, has been absolutely awful. Do you have any take on how the turf? It's getting hotter now. It's drying out. I'm assuming you watch a lot of Churchill races. Just the inside has been a complete black hole on a lot of these turf races.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been fading horses, who are front runners in that regard, but I think it is changing a little bit. I think they are getting fixed up. I think Jamie does a good job there. But yeah, I mean, when I was there for the Derby, James Graham came back. He's like, there was no traction. His horse just couldn't get traction on the inside and just couldn't dig in. So just felt like it wasn't rooted. It wasn't like a full, dirt route sort of like situation that you really can have some push and cushion with. So hopefully it's getting itself worked out. But yeah, that's been a big knock and a good angle to play, and also a good way to look at these horses going forward.
Yeah, by the way, just for the record, I'm not really blaming the supers at all. Just I know the weather was really bad in the spring, and it's a new course, right? They're trying to figure out exactly how to maintain it as well. Pete, we're gonna have you go first here in the next leg. This is leg 3. This is the Aristides, who is a fantastic sprinter himself. It's for older males. This is a nice field of 8. You've got the morning line favorite is number 5, Bob's Edge, for Larry Jones and Bishiza. And who do you like here, Pete?
Yeah, I went with the 5. Unfortunately, that one came up as the favorite. I did my handicapping pre-morning line, so I was hoping to maybe not get that one as the favorite, even though I assumed it would be. But this is another one where I'm sort of repeating myself here, where I thought going from 3 to 4 came back and went from running, high 80 buyers as a 3-year-old to popping a 97, then followed that up in a grade 3 with a 98. And then last week, regressed buyer-wise a little bit and didn't run the best race. But again, it was in the slop, and it's against Jackie's Warriors. So when Jackie's Warriors in the race, anything could happen because they're not catching him. And then I don't worry too much about that. It's not like he ran terrible. I mean, he was 5 wide. He closed a little bit. So I thought that was a respectable race, and this is an easier spot. And then the one thing, two back, I noted that actually beat 3 next out winners who ran 92, 94, and 100 buyers next out. So been running against some decent fields. And I think, again, this one just has some upside and seems to have improved from 3 to 4.
Yeah, Bob's Edge is probably the best closer in this race. Paul, you have an interesting opinion here. You have a horse that none of us, Kevin and I, looks like have in 3rd, I believe. But you're going with this horse on top who's got some big back numbers. The question is, can Miles Ahead run on a track that is different than Gulfstream? I think that's the main question with the 2. What say you, Paul?
That's a good question, Howard, isn't it? Yeah. And I'm willing. I'm going to go on pay-per-view. I'm going to pay to get that question answered.
Okay.
I think the horse is in good form. I did like that back number 102, and it was only 2 races ago. I'm just going to, the last race, I'm just going to attribute it to the, that's a real ship across the country. And, that's different from shipping to Saratoga or to Churchill. Paul McGee is steady. I think this horse is going to the lead from where he is. I know the six who I picked second has some speed. I think he's in the best form. I picked a 3rd, actually, best form of his career. I picked a 3 to get in the middle as a closer. But yeah, I think in this race at this distance, this is Kevin mentioned about liking horses who like a distance. 7 for 10 with a second at 6 furlongs. Again, I think Paul McGee is a little underrated. I think he knows what he's doing. And I think this horse has a chance to wire the field. If he runs anything close to that 102, I don't think he needs a 102 to win this, but anything close to it will. So that's why I went with him.
And Paul, you've got Pyron, which is an interesting horse. Another price here in for second. Has got, has been on turf throughout that last race, but, has run okay on dirt also.
Yeah, well, out of respect to Kevin, he's coming out of the Fairgrounds, so I wanted to be a good host and welcome our guest to the show.
Kevin knows this horse very well. Kevin, very briefly, can you first talk about Paul McGee? I'm going to put us on screen here. Talk a little about Paul McGee. I'm assuming you've met him, and he's an underrated trainer, as Paul said. And talk a little about, I know you don't have Pyron in your picks, but talk about this horse that you've seen at Fairgrounds.
Yeah, well, I don't know Paul. I've never met him, but if I'm correct, he's Marty's brother. Is that correct?
Correct.
Marty
yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Marty did not pick him on top. I don't know what that means, but he didn't put him in his top 3. I just looked at that, just thinking. But I do like this horse, but I do think that one question you asked is a question that keeps me from really getting too excited about Miles Ahead. Is can he win other places? Yeah. Does he like that short stretch? A big question in this race is who's going to get the lead. I mean, none of these horses really want it completely. Yeah. We've seen some really good efforts by Top Gunner in terms of relaxing off the pace recently, and I feel like that's the preferred way to go. But maybe that's going to be the way that we're going to see it with the Top Gunner going for it. But Miles Ahead looks really good in here. I think he has thrown in some clunkers and bounced right back, so that doesn't concern me. Of course, he's bounced back at Gulfstream, and then Pyron is a great horse. I just don't know what happened last time. Really just a horse that finds it late and just comes with it. I mean, but similar to Bob's Edge. So I think you're going to kind of want to think about, those two coming late. I'm not sure if they're going to have enough pace to close into, but they really do have amazing turn of foot for dirt horses. So they're exciting horses to watch. Alstall struggling for sure at Churchill, just that one win there. I don't think he got one today either. I think he had Old Foe was maybe his best shot today. I don't think he got that one right.
No, he faded, Kevin. He was right there. He faded in the stretch a little bit.
Faded in the stretch. So,
Kevin, I don't know if you
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I don't know if you saw the scroll on the bottom of the screen, but Kevin, great minds think alike here, sir. We're both going 6.52, and I gotta say, I don't know if Top Gunner is the most talented horse in this race, but like you said, Kevin, where's the speed in this race? I mean, unless Miles Ahead goes, which he might, the two, this horse looks either as loose as he wants to be, or Raylu can just sit off the two. Like, I have a hard time believing, Kevin, if the 6 breaks, he's not getting a great trip. Like, it's very hard for me to envision this horse not getting a great trip. He's in fine form. He's been working out well. I see no reason. 7-2 to me would be a complete ridiculous price. I don't think he's the best. I think Bob's Edge is probably the best horse. But again, he's a dead closer in a race with not a lot of speed in it. That just does not bode well for me, Kevin.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I could see Long Range Toddy with Saez and Dallas Stewart. They could just take a shot by going for the lead from that outside spot, and that could cause some troubles. Top Gunner is definitely going up in class, facing a tough field. But the effort last time was great. It was fantastic. I talked to Raylu after that, and he definitely was trying to stay off the rail. The dirt rail was really a bad place to be on those first few days at Churchill's that week. Yeah. It was just, people just sinking in it. So he stayed wide throughout, was able to get a perfect trip, and he did a little race riding at the end there to keep Tulane Tris from coming up on him there. But
I feel like was that Oaks Day, Kevin, or is that the Thursday before the Derby? Was that Thursday?
I think it was the Thursday before on the 5th.
Okay. By the way, Tulane Tris is a nice horse. It's not like he beat a bunch of tomato cans in that race.
No, Tulane Tris is a great horse. Fantastic Cherie DeVoe, and has looked good, run against good foes. I think there's been some tough company down there in Oaklawn, but still nothing like he's going to see today. But Raylu's definitely due for a win. Just I don't think he's won since that effort on Top Gunner, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, he's a great jockey. He'll get back. I'm not worried about that.
Hey,
Let's
Howard,
go on the next.
Real quick, I was going to say not to tout our stats of the day that you send out with the blog, but there's some excellent stats on Top Gunner. I won't spoil any of them, but there's some excellent ones that put a definite positive spin on Top Gunner.
Hey, Pete, we do have a handful of people. I don't know if they're watching tonight, but just very, very briefly, can you talk about the stats of the week you're referring to? Because the Race Day blog has also exploded. Again, highly recommend people check out the Race Day blog, especially because it's the beginning of the month now. So now is a perfect time to subscribe to the Race Day blog. Again, information is below the video player. But Pete, tell a little bit about what you're doing for the blog real quick.
Yeah, just starting last week, we decided to, so, a lot of times if we're using DRF formulator, you can sort of drill down into the trainer stats. And we like to talk about some of them on the podcast, but they get a little dry sometimes. So we don't like to overdo it. So we decided to, what I would do is for the races the tracks and the sequences that Howard is going to cover in the Race Day blog, I'll also provide the stats that I dig up. And again, it's one of those where they're not, and there's sort of a little disclosure in there for everyone. They're not meant to sway you one way or the other. They're not meant to suggest this horse is a throwout or this horse is a winner. It's just meant to say, hey, in case you don't have the time to dig into the stats, or if you just missed something, here's some stuff that pertains to the race. I try and use it as detailed as possible to the race, sometimes small sample sizes, but it's just more information. So it's basically, the way I always say it is, it's just more data points. So if you're trying to juggle between, hey, I'm down to these 3, maybe there's something in the statistical standpoint that pushes one over the edge or drops one off the table. So you'll see that with the Race Day blog from now on.
Yeah, Pete, you're doing a great job with that, and we all appreciate your efforts. I'm going to go ahead and start with this race, guys, because I have one of these another sort of wacky opinion in this race that I know a lot of people are going to disagree with, and that's absolutely fine because I'm not unwilling to take some stabs. This is the Blame Stakes. What a great horse! I just saw Blame actually at Claiborne last month. And it beat a horse that Pete we don't want to talk about. But anyway, Pete doesn't want to talk about that race. Big fan of that other the Z horse, Zenyatta. Anyway, this is a mile and eighth. This is for older horses, and there is a headliner in this race. The number 8 on the bottom of the screen there, American Revolution. First off the layoff, a very very nice horse. Won the Cigar Mile last year. Again, first start in 2022 for Pletcher and Giroux, 8-5 morning line. And as everyone can see on the screen, I'm going to give you my opinion, and then, of course, I'll let everyone else here on the show talk. Here's my opinion. I'm not breaking any news here by saying that American Revolution, who I'm bringing on the screen here, is absolutely the horse to beat. No one has the numbers of American Revolution. He's run 3 races above 100 last year as a 3-year-old. Now he's a 4-year-old. I mean, he's a very nice horse. I'm going to put all of us on screen just for emphasis of what I believe here. This is absolutely the horse to beat. This horse might win by 10. So I'll just, full disclosure, I might say that. But there's a few things that people need to take caution with. That again, you may agree with me or disagree, but these are absolute facts that I'm about to present to you. American Revolution was supposed to run in the Commentator. What's the Commentator? The Commentator was restricted for New York breds. It was supposed to run on Memorial Day this past week in New York. The problem is the race didn't fill, everyone. It didn't fill. They only had 3 horses. It didn't fill. That was a 1-turn mile race, of course, named after Commentator. But we're getting an echo, guys. I'm not sure who that's from. Can you guys? I hear it. Okay, anyway.
Yep.
I'll keep talking. Do you guys hear an echo? Or is that just
Yeah, I hear it. Yep.
This happened last time, right? Now I don't hear an echo.
Yeah, it's gone.
All right. I don't know, but Kevin, see if you chime back in, maybe. Anyway, I'll keep talking. Kevin, go ahead. You can chime back in. We'll see what happens here. You can put your mic back on if you want to get back on.
Is it back on? I was thinking I just muted it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, just go ahead and keep it muted for a little bit, Kevin. Thanks. Anyway, American Revolution was supposed to run in a mile race. This is not the intended spot for this horse. Now, does that mean he's going to lose? No. He might run off the screen. But he was supposed to run in a mile race. This is a mile and eighth, and he'd ship him to Churchill, a track he's never been to and he's never worked on. And he's off a big layoff. If you're going to beat American Revolution, today is the day. And that's what I'm going to try to do. The other obvious choice is the 6, Scalding, who I saw. I'll go ahead and go full screen now. Scalding is a horse that I saw in person at Keeneland that actually liked in the Ben Ali and ran very well. This is an up-and-coming horse who's got speed. I've got this horse second. I think he figures to set a very nice trip. I'm slightly concerned with the work pattern. I don't know what the deal is, but when he raced at Keeneland on the 23rd, if you look at the bottom of the screen, the work pattern, he didn't work again for 3 weeks, and it worked really slow. And then he worked, okay the last 2 times ago, and last time really slow. Maybe he's just a slow workhorse. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know. This horse can win, but I'm a little bit skeptical because of the work pattern. Again, I could be completely wrong. The horse that I'm very, very interested in here, and I need more than 9-2, is the number 5, Dynamic One, the other Pletcher. I wanted to show the start of the Ben Ali. Now, this race is the same race that Scalding won, but watch the 4 horse here, who's Dynamic One at the start. He broke a little slow and he got slightly pinched. Now, right there, he broke slow and he got pinched. And right here, he's already, several lengths back. Now, this is not a fast horse out of the gate. I'm not going to show the rest of the race. He's not a fast horse out of the gate, but he just ran his best race, guys. He just ran a 95. He's a 4-year-old. I think he's improving. If Tyler G, last thing I'm going to say, if Tyler G can find a way to get this horse out of the gate, and he can be closer to the pace, this is a talented horse. He's very grindy. American Revolution, I'm not sold is going to run his best race. I think American Revolution is going to run a race in the 90s. And Scalding just came off his best effort. I know there's a lot of ifs there. I'm fascinated with this horse. I think he's interesting. I don't think he's impossible. Kevin, you've got the 8 on top, who is obviously the horse to beat, and then you have another horse coming out of that race, Proxy, in second. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, is my echo okay, or is it?
Yeah, it seems fine now. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, well, that explains why we have Drew on American Revolution and Saez on Proxy, which I was curious about. Is because Saez probably was already booked to ride Proxy, thinking that American Revolution wasn't going to be in this race. And here's the situation Pletcher's in, right? Does that make sense? Why else would Saez get off this amazing 4-year-old, right? With the season to come. Yeah, it's just so hard to argue with those eye-popping speed figures, and it's, everybody's going to have American Revolution except for Howard, maybe in the pick 5. Are you going to use them at all, or are you just going to fade them out?
No. I'm using all 3 as A's. As of right now, I'm actually using them equally, which I know sounds a little bit weird, but that's what I'm.
Yeah, we can talk more about that with bet structure for sure.
We'll talk about
this horse has just impressed me every time he goes to the track, and I just don't have any doubt that he will again here. And Proxy was, I'm concerned that Proxy is taking the step down in terms of not being in a graded stake. Stidham is he hasn't been doing quite as well as maybe he has in past years. But Proxy looked great coming back at Fairgrounds, really ran well. Treasury was just a super fast horse that ran a couple good races in a row there. That was a good beat there and came in second, 2 lengths behind Olympiad. I think Proxy still has more to show us. Might be a little bit short price there for 9-2, but might be an interesting one underneath. I don't want to use him on top, but I was a little bit more interested in him when I thought that Saez was jumping over here because he thought this was the one to be on going forward. But now that you're telling the full story, then my opinion fades there for sure.
Paul and Pete, I don't think we need to take too long. I don't want to give you guys short script. We just talked about the 3 horses that you guys have. Paul, I'll let you go first. Anything you'd like to, any angle or something you want to talk about that we didn't mention?
Yeah, 2 things. One, on American Revolution, Howard, I get your point about where they wanted to run him, but just know this, that he won the Albany, which is a New York bred stakes, the day before the Travers last year. I happened to cover that race for the special, and talking to Elliot Walden after the race, they were very, very close to putting this horse in the Travers last year, which would have been a huge swing.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
They would. He said, and immediately after that race, he said, "We're going to go to the Pennsylvania Derby next. We're going to Open Company next." So, I'm not that concerned about that. And as far as Dynamic One, I too saw him in person. Howard, I saw him win the slowest Wood Memorial in history last year. I thought he ran well last time. I think if you're hoping he is going to be closer early, I just think there's too big of a sample. The horse just does not run early. They ran it. They did in the Travers. They tried to run him a little early, figure a mile and a quarter, and of course he was just so far out of his league with Essential Quality and Midnight Bourbon and those guys. But I just think, if there's not a legitimate pace for him to run into, regardless of how long the race is, he is severely compromised. Now, for your sake, he may get it. I just think American Revolution is a superior racehorse. And, of course, I'm picking the New York bred, Howard. You know that.
Make no mistake about it, Paul and everyone else. American Revolution is by far the horse to beat and by far the best horse in this race. This is probably a prep for the Suburban, I would think, Paul, right? I would guess.
You would think so. I mean, that would make sense. And I think that, my guess is that the Whitney would be the target, which I certainly hope it is. I'll be there to see that. But you would think that with a horse like this, as long as he continues to progress in Open Company, this is a good test, though. This is a 2-turn test, Open Company against good horses.
Pete, anything you'd like to add?
No, I'll just say a couple quick things with American Revolution. I agree with you 100%. If you're going to beat them, though, this is the time. I mean, you do have the layoff. You do have, like you said, the sort of the race switch, shipping to a new track. So if you're going to take the shot, you just wish that maybe there was a little bit more in the rest of the field. But I do have, as we'll again to reference the stats of the day sheet, we have a pretty negative stat against American Revolution if you're looking for a chink in the armor. And then just to touch on a couple of the other ones, I really like Dynamic One.
Pete, hold on, Pete. Let's not I know we want to I know I want people to subscribe to the Race Day blog, but if there's some interesting stat, let's throw out that one if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll throw that one. So Todd Pletcher, in stakes dirt route races at Churchill Downs, he's 2 wins, 11 in the money out of 42 starts, so 5%. 5% win, 26% in the money. So again, if you're looking for something that maybe you could say, hey, maybe this just isn't his place. He's not great in these types of races here. I mean, 2 out of 42. It's not a tiny sample size. It's pretty.
Well, Pete, most of them are the Derby. He has more Derby status than anyone.
But hey,
that's a valid.
Take the Derby actually, out of that, and he's probably like 30%.
Actually, you know what, Pete? I'm going to let Kevin talk about that stat real quick. Pete, I don't know if you can quickly look at that and see how many are non-Derby horses. But Kevin, that's a fascinating stat, though, isn't it?
Say it to me one more time. What was the stat again?
Pete, go ahead one more time.
It was Pletcher in dirt route races at Churchill Downs, in stakes dirt route races at Churchill Downs. He was like 2 for 42, 2 wins, 11 in the money out of 42 starts.
It's got to be Derby. It's got to be all Derby. Right?
Hey, you know what? Yeah. The Derby counts as races, man.
No, it definitely does.
That's fascinating.
Has he lost? But is he 30 or something like that he hasn't won with, or close to 40? But still,
actually,
he doesn't come here much. Then if it's all Derby, that he's doing these dirt routes with.
I mean, in all honesty, if I do it without the stakes angle, it's still 5 for 67, 7%, and you're talking a bunch of maiden special weights, just a bunch of other greatest stakes. Yeah, there's a bunch of derbies in there, but it's not
62 Derby starters, Pete. 62 Derby
62.
Starters.
I mean, that's interesting. And he's only 2 of 27 so far this meet, I mean, this is all good stuff for fading this horse.
I don't know. I like it. And we're going to move on, guys. I made a promise that to everyone that we're going to be, sticking to time and everything. But again, we all agree American Revolution was the horse to beat. I think there are some reasons to maybe play against on Saturday. We'll see. Let's go to last race, guys. Kevin, you're going to talk about this. This, I think, is probably the toughest race of the entire sequence. And so we'll take, guys, I'll tell you what, if we don't have time to go through our tickets in detail, we won't, because I'd rather go through this handicapped race rather than talk 15 minutes about ticket instruction, frankly. We can go to 9:20. But anyway, this is the Autobahn. This is for 3-year-olds restricted. 1.1 miles on the turf. It's a big field. It's a field of 11, so I'm going to go full screen here. And the morning line favorite is the 7, I believe. No, sorry, it's the 2, Grand Sonata for Gaffleon and Pletcher. Kevin, you're going with a horse that's on the outside that is another Pletcher horse trying turf for the first time, Major General.
Yeah, there's 2 horses I like in here at a price, the 11 and the 4. And, of course, trying to think of this ticket structure here and trying to find prices after coming out of American Revolution and Pauline's Pearl. But it's our first time going on the turf, a Constitution, no more lemons. This makes sense to me pedigree-wise. Here we are with Todd Pletcher again, though, right? But now we're getting onto the turf here. That effort 2 back into Lexington was sensational. I mean, it definitely didn't get the win that day, but I think it is enough to compete with this field. But then that Pat Day Mile was abysmal. So I am confused about Major General, but I think that's going to help us get a price. There was just the only excuse I can think with Major General, he was with Jack Christopher and Papa Cat, chasing them. He just said, those dudes are awesome. I can't hang. I'm just gonna go back. But Irad even continued to ask Major General a little bit at the end there too. So it wasn't like he just eased him up as Irad, he's wont to do. So it could be a good angle here. I love Brian Hernandez Jr. I think he's one of the most underrated jockeys around. I do think that he'll be sent into the front from out here. He's very dangerous on the front. He knows how to win well out there. But then that number 4 as well, Play Action Pass. Corey Lannery is going to get up. This is a horse that did a lot of running on that bad turf rail that we mentioned before and was still able to get that win. They were all out wide in that last trip early, and then Play Action Pass kind of got stuck down on it. Fought off a horse on the inside, fought off a horse on the outside. The speed figure is not too impressive, but at 20-1, I'm really interested in Play Action Pass as well.
You know what's fascinating about this horse is Pete may like this horse a little bit too because he's got a crazy opinion, and Play Action Pass is coming out of the same race. So maybe you guys are seeing the same thing. Real quick, there's two questions that I want to in the chat. Real quick, from A Roth wants to know if Saez was fired. He's just trying to get more. I don't think Saez was fired at all. A Roth and Ralph Conti. Pete, this is interesting. We might want to consider this. Ralph, thanks for joining the show. Maybe putting your blog out on Friday nights, let people have more time to look at the sheet. That's actually interesting, Pete. You and I will talk about that because I don't know if you're gonna be able to do that or not in terms of your schedule, but
that would work for hey Ralph, that would work for the races definitely that we cover on the show. So for the Thursday show races for sure, because I usually have it done for that. It may be the second card is usually something I'm finishing up Friday night, but could always send it out after I'm done. But we can. Howard and I'll definitely consider that for sure.
Hey, Pete, this is a great time to transition to your picks because you have a 30-1 shot. I had to double. I'm assuming this is correct, right, Pete? A 30-1 shot on top. And guess who the 5 Churchill Downs lost to last time, Kevin? You ready? Play Action Pass. So you guys
hit the exacta, Kev. Let's hit this exacta, me and you. Let's hit
Pete,
this.
Convince us why we should put this 31 in our pick 5 or even on top, for that matter.
Well, this was one where I thought the race was pretty wide open. I thought even the and I handicapped this pre-morning line, so I was assuming this one would be a price, but the one thing I liked about that last race is I just thought like Play Action Pass ran a nice race, but Play Action Pass also. I just didn't think he's run against much, and neither has the 5 actually. But I liked that the 5. I just thought he got a little bit of a crappy ride by Santana, where when they turned for home, he sort of was stuck behind a horse instead of just sort of swinging this horse out wide and just getting a nice straight even path. And I think this horse would have won, and then it would have looked a lot better. Now again, the figures are low, so I'm not understating the fact that I think the figures are low, but the figures in here for the other horses, even the favorites, they're not that high. I mean, you're talking what, 80, 81 is what's the tops? 80, 81 is probably the top figures.
83 for Smoking Tea.
83 for Smoking Tea, and I have some issues with Smoking Tea, but it's just one of those where I don't think this horse has to take a huge step up to get to that. So it's one, when I saw it at 30-1, I was like, I'll take it. I think there is, if I remember correctly, looking at the pace, there's not a ton of speed, but I mean, as long as you get a little bit of a pace up front, hopefully we can get a couple. I think Major General, I think it might help because I feel like Major General has to leave because that's when he does his best running. Yeah. So if he leaves, Summer Anthem leaves, maybe that sort of heats the pace up just a little bit, just enough to get, so it's not a plotting. We're not going 50 to the half kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm hoping for a little bit, and then let's take a shot with a bomber here.
Yeah, and Dan also, Brisnet-wise, is a top speed performer, got a 92 back, and the top of the field is a 93, 94. So makes sense for Riz Figs.
You're talking about the Rushaway, Kevin? The 2 back with the 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Paul, I mean, look at the bottom of the screen, guys. We are all over.
I was less laughing at that. I'm like, what do we have? Like, we probably
I haven't gotten my crazy, wacky, probably incorrect picks yet. Paul, you like Grand Sonata. This is a really consistent horse for Pletcher and Gaffleone. Has been close in some great 3s.
Yeah, although I will say, listening and looking at our picks, it clearly looks like a spread race, and having the favorite in a spread race is pretty much almost never the right idea. I do think Side Dog was really running well, and to be 3/4 of a length off of Side Dog last time in the Transylvania, I thought was a good effort. This horse it likes to mix it up, right? He wins by a head, wins by a neck, loses by 3/4. Tyler is his regular rider, rode him at Gulfstream, riding him here. So all you need to know about the race is the morning line favorite is 7-2. That's him. So I don't think anyone's going to be too low in this race, and I will certainly be using Pete's bomber now that you mentioned it. Kevin, I looked at Major General myself, and Constitution's obviously a good turf sire, but No Mo Lemon is an unraced mare who has no sibs. So there's I just couldn't there's no pedigree on the damn side, turf or turret. So, but Constitution is a pretty good turf influence. I was hoping to find some on the dam side, and I couldn't.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at that. No more lemons, nothing. You're right.
Yeah. Guys, I have a pretty strong opinion in this race, and that is I'm absolutely price shopping. And Kevin, I love you like a brother from another mother, but if Major General wins this race, I will be absolutely freaking shocked. I understand that he could get the lead and wire the field. This horse does not really have turf breeding. This to me strikes a pure desperation by Pletcher, just saying I'm just gonna take a chance and throw him on. Like I hate Major General. If this horse wins, I don't know what to say. I really like the 3 here quite a bit, guys. Tallahatchie Bridge. Now, the last race, he lost the speaking scout. Just for time, I'm not going to show the replay. Peel can watch it. I'll go full screen here. Tallahatchie Bridge wants distance. He probably wants more than mile and eighth. I know Sappy Joseph has not been good outside of Gulfstream, but this horse ran well at Keeneland last time. He was on the inside. He stayed on the inside. He finally got room. He had a ton of run. He was closing best by far. Speaking Scout, who's the 9 in this race, got a dream trip on the outside and was able to hang on. Excuse me. Tallahatchie Bridge was absolutely coming. The horse is working well. There's more speed in this race. I am fascinated. And by the way, how sentimental would this be, guys? Because these are owned by the Ramseys, and unfortunately, Sarah Ramsey, if you didn't hear, Ken Ramsey's wife, longtime partner, passed away earlier this week at the age of, I believe, 83. So our condolences to the Ramsey family. But that'd be quite the emotional win for Tallahatchie Bridge if he can pull this off. And the other horse that I like is the 8, which again, I'm not going to show the replay. The 8 is Summer Anthem, who I think will sit right off your 11. Kevin, this horse, sat off a runaway speed last time, won well. This is a new horse for Michael Maker, who's just going to move this horse up, has been working well, is lightly raced, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I think Summer Anthem is fascinating here as well. So as I put us all full screen here and go to our pick 5, go price shopping, folks. Even Paul would admit that, who has the 2 on top, but we didn't see the prices before. If you like Major General, go for it. Pete's got a crazy idea with the 5. Kevin likes the 4. I've got the 3 and 8. Go price shopping. It's a wide open race. Guys, let's get into our pick 5s. And I have to remember that we do have people listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course Anchor as replays later in this week. So I will read the picks. Kevin will go first here. I'm going to take off the banner. Let's take everything else off the screen. Here's our pick 5s. These are Caveman pick 5s, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to read them first. You guys have literally about 2 minutes to go through your general thoughts on ticket construction here. Kevin Kilroy in his pick 5. It's a $90 ticket. He's going 3-5-6. Excuse me. He's going 5, singling the 5 Pauline's Pearl with 3-5-6, with 2-3-4-5-6. With the 8, which is American Revolution, with 2-3-4, 8, 10, 11. Again, 5 with 3-5-6, with 2-3-4-5-6, with 8, with 2-3-4, 8, 10, 11. Kevin, you have 2 singles in your Caveman ticket.
Yeah, I think this maps, a lot of the ways that you all were thinking about these races too, spreading in this last race, trying to be alive to a price. I do agree that maybe having that 2 in there, the favorite, is not the right idea, but it's just so hard to fade that Grand Sonata. Leaning on my opinions with Pauline's Pearl and American Revolution, trying to maximize that. This is the dollar price is 90. I think it's 50 cents though, right? At Churchill is the bare minimum there. So just trying to get, alive to the will pays at the last leg here and try to get one of these bombs to come in, because I do think we'll get a price coming in here.
Yeah.
And as I'm talking about, I do think I should fade the Grand Sonata, maybe even just add another one there in the second leg, because that does seem like anybody could get it. We didn't even talk about Admissions Office. Wow, that horse though, he's run some good races, could get in there. So
we probably should. He's coming off a long. By the way, I have to.
You want to get skinny in a couple of these, and maybe the smart thing to do is, like I think Howard, you're going that direction, is just to get skinny in some of the spread legs, right? So you can really grab some of the value in these other.
How'd you know I was thinking about going to do that?
I learned
my early voting single in the Preakness, maybe, guys. By the way, did you guys see this comment? I mean, racing downwind. As a poker player myself, also, good luck, man. You are living the dream. I'd love to have a seat at the World Series of Poker. I don't think that's the main event. Racing downwind, if you know poker, he's trying to qualify, I believe, for the main event. But racing downwind, good luck, man, in Vegas. That's awesome. So Kevin, you're going with two singles. They're two very likely winners, I have to say. So no shade thrown your way from me for sure. Paul, your pick five. Paul's got 4-5 with 4-5-6 with 2-4-6 with 1-6-8 with 2-7-10. Again, 4-5 with 4-5-6 with 2-4-6 with 1-6-8 with 2-7-10 with a very convenient, nicely budgeted under $100 bet of $81. Paul, thoughts on your ticket quickly?
Yeah, it's probably an example in how you don't want to construct a ticket. So people should probably pay attention to
All right,
it.
well, let's go on to
Look
Pete.
at it.
Pete,
Only
go
for the
ahead.
best. Only for the
Look
best
at it.
people come to
No,
this show,
Kevin's
right?
got the right idea with the construction. You're going to have to get two good prices if both of those singles win, not just one. So I will not be playing a caveman. Well, I said that at Center Anita last week, and ironically, I hit it with a caveman on both Saturday and Monday. But the reason I did was the races that we thought was spread races. Howard, I couldn't come up with any A's. I said,
Yeah.
I just can't lean on anyone other than more than another. So I'm just going to play a couple of cavemans and hope. But I do think that American Revolution will be the biggest lean for me. I'm probably more inclined, if I have to beat one of them, I'd be more inclined to try to get someone to beat Pauline's Pearl.
Okay. By the way, Kevin, no pressure as our special guest tonight, but last week we had Billy Koch from Little Red Feather Racing, the owner out there in California. He had the pick five, as did, where is he? Right down there, as did Paul. So Paul and Billy Koch. So if we want to go off of trends, folks, definitely take Kevin's pick five because our guests have been on a roll.
Hell yeah, let's get this hot streak going.
Absolutely. Pete's pick five, 4-5 with 1-2-4 with 4-5-6. With 6-8 with 2-3-5-8-9. Again, Pete Visco's going 4-5 with 1-2-4 with 4-5-6 with 6-8 with 2-3-5-8-9. That's a $90 ticket. I'm sure he conferred with his son Jackson when he put this ticket together. Pete, real quickly, your thoughts on your ticket construction.
Yeah, I did none of the work. It was all him for sure. Yeah, so I went the opposite. Where I think I agree with what Kevin did, though. If you want to do a ticket, maybe with the two singles, and maybe go a little skinnier somewhere else, and go for a much higher denomination in case the two singles do come in, then that's where you make your money, just for the listeners and viewers. But for me, I thought Pauline's Pearl. It's not like she lays over the field. Like, it's not like she has like super huge figure advantage over the rest of the field. So I figured at 3-5, I think that was a bit too low. I figure Army Wife has some upside. And then again, American Revolution, maybe you catch him as this is one that's a stepping stone to bigger and better thing. So maybe you can beat him there. So if you can find one to do it. And then in those two, the second and third leg, I think they're not big fields, so I don't think you want to go too deep. And then that last leg, I just think is wide open. We didn't even talk about the Chad Brown horse, the 9, who I think is definitely. I thought he'd be the favorite. I was actually surprised when I saw him at 9-2. I'm not sure if that sticks or not, but I just think that's the one where maybe you catch the price. And if we do, like Howard and I were thinking, if you do beat the 8. If you do beat American Revolution or Pauline's Pearl, at least one of them, then you potentially have a nice chance to get a decent payout.
Yeah, I agree. All right, now here's the winning. Here's my ticket, everyone. 3-4-5-6 with 2-4-5 with 6 with 5-6-8 with 2-3-7-8-9. Again, my ticket is $90. 3-4-5-6 with 2-4-5 with 6 with 5-6-8 with 2-3-7-8-9. Guys, my opinion here, American Revolution and Pauline's Pearl, my opinion is they can win, but I just don't think they have to win. And I think if you want to get value, you got to single somewhere else. And I'm singing Top Gun. Is it Top Gunner? Is that the name of the 6? He's lone speed on paper. He should get a great trip. I don't think that race is going to favor the closers. Otherwise, I'd have to go 4 or 5 deep again. I'm signaling the 6 in the Aristides. I'm going to try to beat those other favorites, but I have them. And then I have some interesting bombs also in the last race. Not bombs, but the 3 and 8 I think are very interesting. So I'm just not convinced on Pauline's Pearl and American Revolution. They obviously both can win. They're both great horses. They're both going to be favored, blah, blah, blah. That's my pick. As we wrap up the show, guys, because the Celtics are about to beat the Warriors tonight. I'm assuming Paul believes here.
That's
Kevin,
correct.
Kevin, as our special guest, really appreciate you coming again. By the way, everyone, I emailed Kevin about coming on, and literally within like 10 minutes, he's like, "Are you kidding? Of course!" Like, we have so many great
best
people throughout
invite
the
in
country.
horse racing, Howard. I look for this in my mailbox every day. Yeah, I appreciate you thinking of me.
Well, you did a great job, Kevin. We'd love to have you on again. Of course, really appreciate your help here. Any final thoughts on the pick 5, on the maybe Belmont Stakes pick you have? Anything you want? I'll let you close the show, Kevin.
Yeah, you know what? I think Rich Strike is going to win another race. Whether it's the Belmont, I'm not sure, but Rich Strike has got another win in him. I'll tell you what, I was watching him in the mornings when I was at Churchill. He looked amazing. I kick myself every time I think about the fact that I didn't use him. He looked amazing on the track. He loves to run. He acts up. He's crazy. He's immature, but he might be able to get it done in the Belmont. That might be a way to go.
Yeah, the Belmont's be fascinating. And again, I'm not going to show the promotional, but if you're just listening to us now or you didn't catch the beginning, please go back to the first 10 minutes of the show next week, Monday. Are you ready? Lafitte Pincay. The Lafitte Pincay Jr. is going to be here on the HHH Racing Podcast along with Phil Gleaves. Wednesday, David Aragona for the Friday card. Thursday, cross our fingers, don't guarantee, cross our fingers if it works out. Anthony Stabile, the Big A, making his first appearance for the Belmont card. HHH Racing Podcast has Belmont Stakes Week covered like a glove. I want to thank everyone for watching the show tonight. It's been fantastic. Hopefully you're going to crush that pick 5 on Saturday at Churchill Downs. For Kevin Kilroy, Pete Visco, and Paul Halloran, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz. Thanks for watching episode 144 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Good luck with your bets this weekend. We'll see you on Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, with Lafitte Pincay Jr. and Philip Gleaves. It's Belmont Stakes Week next week. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night.